Hello YouTubers, I have got some new devices, but I thought what I'd do is separate the video into three parts because there's three devices that I want to talk about, because I've tried to fit it into one video and the video is just too long for my liking. So what I thought I'd do is do three different parts so that I can concentrate a little bit more on each device and sort of tell you guys how I feel about it. I think that's the easiest way of doing it. Part 1. I had the iPad mini and it was doing fine until I updated some of the apps, and basically it stopped working properly. The apps wouldn't work properly at all. I was reluctant to do a factory reset because I was worried it might want to update, so I reinstalled the apps, tried to do it that way, and that didn't work properly. So I had a look on eBay and they were going for quite a good price, so I thought, right, well, now's the time to sell and I'd get quite a good price for it. So I sold it, got a really good price for it. I thought, well, I don't want to get an iPad mini 2 or an iPad Air because I wasn't really sure how they would work with iOS 7, plus I couldn't really afford it, to be honest. So I thought to myself, right, I'll go for Android, because I'd had Android before and it had worked pretty well and I knew the layout of it, so I thought, well, I'll go for Android. Now, the Galaxy Tab was the only real ones that caught my interest, and because of the size of the screen, because I wanted one similar to the iPad mini, I thought go for the Galaxy Tab 3 8.0, and I've got to say I have been quite impressed with it. Now, the Wi-Fi is better on this than any of the tablets that I've had. I have tried to do the Wi-Fi here, but it hasn't really worked as well as what I thought it would. Generally speaking, in my room upstairs, this has been working a lot better than any of the tablets that I've had as far as the Wi-Fi is concerned. Now, as far as the touchscreen, I was a little bit worried about coming from an iPad to go into an Android device, because when I did it before, the touchscreen wasn't as good. But on this, it is pretty good, and I haven't really noticed that much of a difference. Now, okay, on some of the websites that I go on, when you've got like a little tab on the side, like GSM Arena has, I do have to zoom in sometimes in order to be able to use it. But other than that, it has been working really well. The battery life, I get about 3 days worth of medium to heavy use out of it, and it still has about 15% left over. So that to me is pretty good. Cameras are okay. I think it would be alright for Skype videos. The games, I only really play Cut the Rope and Temple Run, so I don't really play anything else other than that, and they have been working fine, so I haven't had any issues with that, and everything else has been working fine. So as far as I'm concerned, it has been a really nice transition going from the iPad mini to this, and I haven't had any major issues with it. Now, one of the things that I really like about this, I've already downloaded the firmware that's on this onto my computer, which I did from Sam Mobile, I think it is. So I've got a copy of this original firmware. If I decide to update it when an update comes out, maybe 4.3 or 4.4, if I decide that I don't like that update, then I have the original firmware. I can then put the original firmware back on this, and as far as I'm aware, I'll be able to do that and it'll be back to working as it is now. And that's what I like about Android. More so on the tablets than the phone. But as far as I'm concerned, this has been a nice transition. It's working really well. The battery life is just as good. The cameras could do with being a little bit better. But I don't really use the cameras on this, so it's not a biggie. So the fact that it's got an SD card slot on it, and I think you can have up to 64 gig card on it, I think. Well, it's at least 32 anyway. I've got a 16 gig in it that came with it. You get a nice amount of room for the apps that you want to use, so that's pretty good. So as far as I'm concerned, it is a nice device. For me, it works just as well as the iPad mini. I do prefer the 16:9 screen, which works really well with YouTube and watching videos, and the screen display is a nice display. I don't think it's Super AMOLED. I think it's just a normal touchscreen display, but it does do a pretty good job, and I'm really happy with it. And it has been an easy transition, and that's what it's all about, really. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would. If you're looking for a nice Android device and you've got the money, then I would say, yeah, go for it, because it is a nice device, and I have had no problems with mine, and I've been really happy I mean, coming from an iPad mini, I thought I would have issues with the touchscreen, but I haven't. It's been a nice device to use. Okay, you do have to get used to it. Obviously, there are differences between this and the iPad mini, but once you get used to it, it's an easy thing to use. And so I would recommend it. So there you go. That's my video about the Galaxy Tab 3 8.0. Next up, I shall be doing my next video on my next device. So that's the end of part 1. Next is part 2. Okay, bye bye for now.